I may be number one, but that doesn't mean that you have to feel like number two. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and we are here on my free-to-play account to talk about, well, a little bit about the leaderboards. I happen to be the number one content creator at the moment. Actually, at the moment, I'm the number one on both leaderboards. I'll put those up above, but we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're mostly going to talk about, if you're looking at my progress, I'm clearly doing something right. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure what, but I'm clearly doing something right. But that doesn't mean that anyone that is behind me is actually doing anything wrong. Progression is a weird arc. Not everybody's going to progress at the same speed. Sometimes it's a matter of not having enough time. Sometimes it's a matter of just not having the right champions. Sometimes it's not having the right gear. There are so many different ways you can progress. And a lot of it actually does have some RNG to it. So there's a little bit of random here, a little bit of random there, whether or not you get the right champs, whether or not you get the best gear, all kinds of things can make or break an account as far as how you're progressing. But I want to talk a little bit about just some of the key things to focus in on to have some surefire progression on your account, and maybe just kind of talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I've focused on, and hopefully it'll help you continue to make progress in the game, whether or not you're a new player or maybe you've been playing for a few years and just kind of stuck in the same spot. So, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about focus. And that's one of the things I think I've probably done the best on, just given the way the account is rolled. I have always stayed focused to the champions that I wanted to level up. I've made a plan and I've decided this is the first champion I want to level up. This is the second champion I want to level up. This is the third champion I want to level up. And I've followed through with that plan, and it's worked out fairly well. Early on, I decided I wanted Kale as my first 6-star because I wanted a 6-star within the first 2 days, and I got Kale within the first 2 days. Then I went with the Monkey King. I had put him in lifesteal gear, and it worked okay. And I made him a 6-star, and it helped quite a bit. I focused on damage dealers early because damage dealers are the ones that get the most out of the 6-star, at least early. It certainly helps to have tankier other champions, especially for the healers to stay alive. But your nukers get a ton of extra damage when their attack goes up almost 50% in between that 5-star and 6-star. So that makes a huge, huge amount of progress for nukers. So I like to go with a nuker number one. Honestly, I like the idea of going for a nuker in number two as well. From there, I took a look at where my account was progressing and figured out who was going to go, who was going to be my next 6-star. So Tagore ended up being number three. Alice ended up being number four. Geomancer ended up being number five. He wasn't even in the picture when I pulled him, and it was going to be Ugo, but Geomancer became a very easy 5-star. And then I went with Ugo. And right now I'm kind of debating. Originally, it was actually possibly going to be Bowsmith Flannan. He has been absolutely clutch for me. He's a reason I've been able to get through Fire Knight 20. But I'm probably going to go with Coldheart or maybe Haikatoon. I'm not 100% sure. But what I've done is I basically charted out my progress and said, where am I at this particular time and which one makes the most sense for me to 6-star? So Kale made the most sense early, but maybe you're not playing as hardcore as I was. I'm certainly been playing a lot more than honestly your average person is going to play. I'm going a lot faster than most people are. You don't have to feel bad if you're 30 days in, 33 days, I believe, as of the filming of this, and you're not level 53, have all this stuff unlocked, and have done what I've done. Do not feel bad. I have been pushing hard. I've had the time to push hard, and this is for a competition where, to be fair, the speed is part of the issue. So if I wasn't in a competition where speed wasn't an issue, if I wasn't pushing this hard, maybe I might have made it through 7 days to getting Alice before I was ready to get my first 6-star, and Alice might have been an option. Maybe that would have been the better option. I'm honestly not 100% sure. I really do think that getting your starter, particularly if you started with Kale at 2 6-stars, is probably the right thing to do. If you choose not to start with Kale, then I think Alice is better than any of the other starter champions in every area of the game. Kale is still very good in Dragon, possibly better than anyone else because of the poisons. He's also still very good in Clan Boss because of the poisons. And there's a reason I'm still using Kale on this account, and those are mostly it. But ultimately, you have to make a decision what is best for your account, what makes sense with where you're at, and what champions do you have when you start picking 6 stars. The only thing I highly recommend is one of the first things you should do before you work really on just about anything else is get your first 6 star. Don't worry about 5 starring some of your epics that you might get for free. Get your first 6 star. It's a huge, huge power boost. Gear is one of the other ways to progress in your account, and making decisions on your gear can make a huge impact on your account. So, picking the gear that is worthwhile to invest in and then investing in that gear can give you great returns. Now, you'll notice here on my Alice, almost everything she has is plus 16. Are these the best pieces that I'll ever get on this account? No. In fact, several of these pieces are probably going to get sold at some point in time. But right now, they are some of the best pieces I have on the account right now, and they're on Alice. As I find better pieces, they might start getting peeled off Alice and become available for other champions that might end up in a faction war run. And eventually, they may either just end up in a vault somewhere on a faction wars champion, or perhaps they might even get removed and sold or just destroyed at some point in time as well. But choosing to invest in gear means you're investing in your account. That sometimes means picking a 4 star piece of gear and 16 it. Plus 16 here, for example, these boots. These boots are only 4 stars. I plus 16 them because they had particularly great substats. And even if I rolled double into that HP, the fact that I've got a hit and crit damage, some crit rate with a high roll, and attack percent make them great for Alice. And they're some of the best nuking boots I have that involve speed on the account until I get better ones that I farm later on. Sometimes it's a matter of just accepting I'm not going to find better gear. Sometimes it's accepting that I know I'm going to find better gear, so I shouldn't invest too much. An example there would be this resistance banner I have. It had some speed, it had some okay substats. I rolled it up to plus 8. It didn't hit on the speed, it hit on some defense. It's not bad. It's the only banner that was worthwhile putting on Alice. Now, I've certainly farmed a second banner here. This is an accuracy banner. That's not necessarily too bad, but I'm not missing any accuracy, so I don't need to put accuracy on it right now. Meanwhile, this is also a resistance banner, and while it gives me a little bit of extra attack, it's not a lot of extra attack, and I'm missing out on some speed as well. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to go with this pinpoint piece either. So it's making decisions like that for your account. Meanwhile, I know I don't have a lot of banners in general, so this 4-piece banner right here, not great, but hey, it could go on a Faction Wars champion that I happen to 6-star for a little while, or anybody that might be good to have a banner. If I'm desperate for something, then maybe I start cleansing out some of this 4-star gear, sell some stuff, get some silver. But until then, it doesn't hurt to keep some of this stuff around because it's nice to gear up some of your Faction Wars champions. Looking here at Faction Wars, that's one of the other things that I have focused on that I think has actually helped my account progress quite a bit. Now, I'm not saying that I'm building champions exclusively for Faction Wars, but what I've been doing is in factions where I've been pulling a couple champions, as long as they're not absolute trash, I've kept a rare or two in most factions at this point in time, and rares that I'm willing to throw a little bit of gear on and that can clear some of the early stages. But eventually, if I get a couple of epics, I'll invest a few levels in them. I'll throw some gear on them. I might roll some of that gear up to plus 4 or plus 8, or even some of the bottom stuff to plus 12, as long as it's reasonable-ish gear. And then I have champions that have got level 20, 4-star, and gear, and they'll kind of wander through Faction Wars. And the lower levels of Faction Wars are actually very easy if you can get a bunch of those champions together. All you need is a couple champions and the ability to maybe take a hit or two if you can't beat out ahead of time. So keeping some of that 4-star gear to throw on your champions for Faction Wars is great. Will I recoup the cost of that 4-star gear? Maybe, maybe not. The advantage, however, is that the higher up I am farming, the better I am getting in perception gear and resilience gear, And that gear I can sell for silver. So I actually might, if I run multiple faction wars over multiple days with these champions I threw just kind of basic gear on, I may actually make back the silver I spent on that gear and then some. And meanwhile, I've gotten some of the progress down here with the faction wars, and I've gotten some hopefully good gear from the forge. So it's another good way to get gear in addition to, of course, actually farming gear. One of the other things that's been very important for me in early progression is focusing on what I want to accomplish and figuring out whether or not other things are a distraction. For example, I don't have tons of accessories, but I have most of the accessories I want on most of my champions. Would I like better accessories? Absolutely. But I need to figure out where I want to farm for that. I'm farming Spider 18 and I'm farming Event Dungeon 18 or 19. They're about the same, so I'm getting about the same accessories from either one of them. Although I'm only getting a quarter of the although I'm only getting a quarter of the accessories from the event dungeon because you only get accessories 25% of the time. The problem I have right now is there is a spider event going on, but it is a 2x barbarian for the faction. I don't have any barbarians that need accessories. In fact, I don't want most of the accessories for my barbarians. Maybe something for High Katoon. That's about the extent of the barbarians I have chosen to invest in any meaningful way so far. So 2x barbarians is actually a hindrance to me farming spider. And I'm only farming Spider 18, and I think I'd rather spend the energy in the event dungeon because I'm also getting regular gear as well that's fairly good, and it's about the same level of gear as I might get farming anywhere else. So that's perfect. On the other hand, if it's a Fire Knight event, I'm farming Fire Knight 20, albeit very, very slowly. And if it's regeneration gear or savage gear or even stun gear, that's going to be super helpful for my account. So figuring out where I want to lean and leaning into that is going to help me progress greatly. And finally, don't forget about the arena. The arena is one of the easiest ways to level up and power up your account. I'm in gold 5. That's 22% extra HP, attack, and defense. That's huge for lasting longer in Clan Boss. That's huge for doing Doom Tower, for doing Centranos, for doing dungeons. That is a lot of extra stats. On top of that, I'm earning gold medals to be able to level up my affinity bonuses. These are huge. Especially eventually they do get to plus 25% crit damage, plus 20% of the defense, attack, and HP, and 80 points of resistance and 80 points of accuracy. That is nothing to sneeze at, particularly considering you're looking for 250 accuracy for a lot of the basic stuff, maybe 350 at most. Well, 80 points is maybe a fifth of that, give or take, maybe a quarter. That's an awful large percentage of your accuracy, and it makes gearing champions easier where I don't have to focus on the accuracy and I can focus on getting a little extra speed or a little extra crit damage or a little extra attack. And if I can get more crit damage, which is also a viable one to go for, my nukers are going to do a lot more damage, and that's going to ease just about anything I need on my account. So I will have a video on the arena as well. So if you want to check that out, I don't know if that's going to drop before or after this. So I will leave a link up and above if I remember to, if I drop it later. And if I don't, well, I might just be pointing up in the sky for no readily apparent reason. Overall, I've got 3 big tips for you and 3 messages for you. If you're struggling in raid, make a plan, figure out what you want to do, and focus on that plan. If that means you have to turn down other things that look shiny and interesting to do, like, for example, this fusion that I'm choosing to skip on this free-to-play account, then that's what you need to do, because progress and improvements on your account don't necessarily always come from the shiny new champion or that extra shard you're getting, or just maybe speeding up a run you're already doing very well. It comes from getting someplace you're currently not beating something new, or making something so much easier to farm, cutting out 5 minutes on your speed run, for example. That's huge. Cutting out 20 seconds on your speed run, for people that are hitting the leaderboards, maybe that's super important. But, if you're going from a 3 minutes to a 2 minutes and 30 seconds farm, it's not that huge of a deal. So focus on the type of things that you can do to improve your account. And there's a good chance it involves building a champion that you have on your roster that you just haven't bothered investing in yet. So look for champions that might be able to help you in places that you're struggling in and invest in them. Target them, level them up, 6-star them, and work on building a team. I worked on building a 5-man team by getting one champion to 6-star, building the rest of them up to about 5 stars, and then slowly expanding my team and expanding my roster while understanding that I might have to be a little bit agile and make changes on who I was focusing on as I expanded my roster. For example, I had Frozen Banshee I was investing in. I'm no longer investing in her, but I don't regret bringing her to 5 stars because she brought me a lot farther in Clan Boss than I might have been otherwise, and I still will find some use for her, possibly in Dragon and possibly in Ice Golem, a little bit down the road when I can build better teams to bring her up to the boss and then have her solo because I might have the gear for it. Second of all, identifying teams and identifying champions is a good skill to have. If you're not sure who you're identifying and who you're going to be working on, well, check out content creators like myself, check out websites like Hell Hades, check out Ayumi Love. There are plenty of wonderful content creators out there. I mean, there's a ton of them. I've really enjoyed checking out the other content creators from the Hell Hades website. Go check out the Hell Hades free-to-play website down below and check out all of those content creators. If my stuff doesn't resonate you, somebody else's will. And if my stuff does resonate you, it doesn't mean you can't share the love with those guys too. There are plenty of folks who are there to help you, and there are plenty of wonderful websites such as hellhades.com, Ayumi Love, MTG Jedi's got a site, Deadwood Jedi's got a wonderful site. There are plenty of websites out there, and I know I have not named all of the websites out there that have wonderful raid information that can help you figure out which champions you want. You can also check out some of the wonderful communities. Twitch is a great community. Obviously, the comments here. I've got a Discord. There are plenty of other Discords as well. The raid community loves to help other people out. So if you have questions, ask. You know, that's how I learned a lot of what I know is investigating and asking. Finally, the most important part is this is a game. I start every video out talking about how we are having fun talking Raid Shadow Legends. I am enjoying the game. I enjoy playing the game. I am having fun with it. Hopefully you are having fun with the game too. Do not let frustration and envy color what you're doing in the game. If you look at what I'm doing and say, man, I can't do that, I don't know if I want to play anymore, then you're probably not going in with the right attitude. You should be celebrating your accomplishments. I'm celebrating my accomplishments because I feel proud that I've been able to do them. And if you're able to just beat Fire Knight 10 while I'm beating Fire Knight 20, then you know what? Congratulations, you deserve a high five for getting to Fire Knight 10 because that is still an accomplishment on your account. And that's the fun with playing Raid. Every account will be different. Everything we get will be different. And ultimately, every account will just, be its own unique adventure, which is kind of why I love this game. And I love helping people on their adventure. And honestly, I love doing takeovers because it gives me a chance to partake in other people's adventure as well. So, hey, if you guys are having fun, let me know down below. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the Hell Hades challenge. Hopefully you're enjoying these videos. Hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. I really appreciate you all. You have been absolutely amazing support. And again, I absolutely love this community. So until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.